Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 125th episode of Book of Hours, our first run on YouTube as the artist. Just give me one quick second here. I've got a little bit, volume's just a little bit hot on my end. Anyways, our first run playing as the artist. This is our first run on YouTube. And it is the Monday episode, which means I am quite forgetful about where I am. Although I seem to recall we had a lot that we could do. So let's actually start by taking a look at our options. It did look like we were going to be taking advantage of the opportunity to get some scale. So we will be, I believe it's 11 with the miner right now. We'll be adding the mackerel. And for that, we will be getting access to the Room of Rust, it seems. Now, I am slightly curious if I was going to be doing something with the Slithering Fountain. I expect not, because we would be able to bring Reverend Timothy up to that level. So that's fine. Now, we don't have Mrs. Kill, it looks like. We are bringing back our Shapt. Do we have any books on the go? It doesn't look like it. But it does look like I'm going to be leveling up Stone Stories and possibly Tridesma Hyra. Okay, yeah, so I definitely do not want to be messing around with... I definitely don't want to be messing around with any more books. It seems like I've got lots to get through. So, for Stone Stories, we have... what? Okay, so I just need one more nectar or scale memory. Now, the thing to remember here, of course, is that we have a few options available to us already. So, for instance, I could use the Hive's Lament, I could use the Earth Sign, but I would prefer to generate something off of the tin miner. So we'll see what we can do with that. We have a cloudy day, so that will help us with Tridesma Hyra. That is a Moon and Grail. Now, this is going to be a little more difficult just because I need to generate 3 memories overall. We've already got... okay, so I've got a Fost set aside. Why did I do that? Maybe for the Lockworks and Clockworks. I think I... nope, hang on. So Stone Stories, I definitely need to bring the health back. It's pretty clear that I've set these aside. So I guess... oh, I see why. Because I actually don't need that much to be able to level up Lockworks and Clockworks. Okay. So, the next step here is just to kind of come up with my wish list. So I'm going to need 1 memory for Stone Stories. I'm going to need 3 for Clouds. And then in total, I'm going to need 3 for Lockworks and Clockworks. Now, what I have available to me right now are 5 elements of the soul. So, for we're short, where we need 7. We need 7 in total. I have 5. And I suppose I would want to add... No, we'll be fine. Yeah, so what this really comes down to, I guess, is how lucky do we get with the tin miner. And again, there are a couple things that I can do to angle this to my favor, right? I can take the Earth Sign and the Old Wound and throw 1 to Stone Stories, 1 to Tridesma Hyra. But let's not dip into that quite yet. I think I am going to be somewhat aggressive in terms of restoring things at the Sweet Bones, though. So the plan for today is actually to just sit on all of these elements of the soul. There are a few things that would be nice to generate if I can, but right now I need to see what's going to happen with the tin miner as far as memories are concerned. And essentially, if I can get a lot of this cleared out, then what this will mean is that I'm able to kind of put these remaining phonographs and books to work that much sooner. And then, of course, on top of all of that, we still have plenty to read in terms of plenty to do in terms of clearing out the curses. And then then of course there's the more difficult books that I want to read. But again, I need to be a little more ordered in terms of how I'm doing this because I haven't committed that much to the Tree of Wisdoms yet. And so as a consequence, I don't have as many actions that I can take on a day as other people might at this point in their game. So the sustenance has boosted their aspects appropriately. Let's get the reading done. I could encourage my assistant, work with them, or for a little while, exalt them. Or I could just listen to whatever they might have to say. So what, I think I was starting to talk about this and then I didn't. But the aim here is going to be to see where my memories are when the sort of bells and birds sound off. And again, ideally, we've got a couple of memories that I can work with. So I'm definitely going to want the health back. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. Okay, the gossip will help me with Tradis Mahaira. We don't have anything with Rose, so it's pretty much locked to that one. But again, at this point, it's really... with the memories I have right now, each of these very clearly lines up with one of my goals. There's no surplus right now, so I'm reasonably happy with that. The impulse. Oh, that's great. That gets us stone stories. One thing that's been bugging me for the last little while, by the way, was what does not bark. Now, I'm trying to remember. It refers to the Doylean dog, and I'm trying to recall. I feel like in a stream or in this series, I made a reference to the Hound of the Baskervilles, and yes, that is a Doylean hound dog. That's not the Doylean dog. The Doylean dog, it's still a Sherlock Holmes story, but it's the one about... oh, God, it's a horse. Not Silvered Mare, is it? Anyways, the solution, it's the dog that doesn't bark in the night, but it's basically the revelation is that the dog doesn't bark, and so there was no intruder. That's the way that it that's the way that it works. It's bugging me, actually, that I don't remember it. In any case, I may not have made the mistake at all, but it's been bugging me for the last little while. So also, it's a lesson. Just read more Sherlock Holmes. It's really good. Anyways, let's get Lockworks and Clockworks leveled up. This is what's available to me. When the health comes back, we'll be able to work on the next one. And this is nice, right? So if we take a look at where we're at, I have 2 memories that I need for Lockworks and Clockworks. That's the only one that's that we're unsure of right now. But basically, we've reduced this down to only needing 4 memories. So we've got the Fost for Lockworks and Clockworks. We've got the Core for Tradis Mahaira. We'll have the Health for Stone Stories. We've got 5 elements of the soul, so if I want, I could use the rest and refreshment for to make some money. Alternatively, I could, I could try and use one of these to get. Actually, what I'll do, I'll definitely read the Solomon Husher work. So that just sets me up to use Reverend Timothy to open up a room. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. It's the Silver Blaze is the name of the home story? Sorry. This is one of the drawbacks. I'm sure I'll check this at the end of the recording, and I'll have it by then. But this is almost certainly going to bug me for the whole broadcast. Okay, but yes, we've got what we need for Stone Stories. We need 2 for Tradis Mahaira. We need 2 for Lockworks and Clockworks. 1, 2, 3, 4 in total. So we're not going to touch these until we know we have the memories that we need. Which probably means I won't be making some money. Might have been better for me to restore. Actually, I can still restore metal. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. This just means that I can use it to earn some money when it's restored. Not a moment too soon. Okay, a revelation doesn't really do anything for me for the my immediate needs. So I will talk with the miner one more time, just I don't really have anything else to do with that character right now. But I do need to start thinking about what books I'm going to be reading to get these things back. So maybe in honor of the Doylean dog, let's read What Does Not Bark. Moon the Cycle. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Let's also get a pattern. I'm trying to remember where we left this off. I'm going to try On the Winding Stair this time. This is a Ramsund text too. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So that's Lockworks and Clockworks taken care of. So finally we need Moon and Grail from Tradis Mahaira. For that, let's go for Salt. And we're already using the Regensburg desk, or Natan's desk. Let's do the Sea Does Not Regret. And then I guess a confounding parable would be the easy answer here, on the odd chance that we get the intuition from the I don't even remember which one of these I was onto. Let's do the other line. Okay, so that gets me everything that I need to level these up. I think I'll still have enough time. It's going to be close, but I should be able to get all of this put away in time. The skill is now level 2. Its power aspects have also increased. I'm no expert, but I'm no dabbler either. Now, one thing I could have done with my Elements of the Soul, if I was feeling, a little lucky in terms of the miner, or perhaps, just saying I'm not that worried, I'll upgrade one of these tomorrow. I could have tried getting the Wormwood Dream and just kind of having that set aside. As it happens, we got a revelation again. I can still talk with this individual. All right, the skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. I don't have anything to upgrade now, unfortunately. Towards a Fundamental Aesthetic, or the House of Glass, Julian Cosley considered this his masterwork. Techniques for perception and analysis, which permit invidious and apocalyptic conclusions, possibly the most assiduously suppressed book in history. The entire run was destroyed, even the presses were melted and dispersed, but the manuscript edition has survived. The perfect hegemony of the hours is perhaps eternal, but Coseley proposes and describes confinement inescapable, aesthetic and optical techniques which might contain even an hour, profoundly disrupting the order of the Mansis. He presents this as his own work, but there are hints here and there that he received inspiration or even assistance from the nowhere hour named Snow. Okay, where else? Yeah, in this case, we really just need to wait for the books. That's going to create some awkwardness as far as getting through the night, but I think I kind of already knew I was signing up for that. Better now. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Okay, so my expectation is that we're going to lose the element of the soul that we do our second upgrade with. So what I will do is I will take care of Lockworks and Clockworks first. And then we'll do Tridesma Hyra, and that's just because I have 2 core, but I only have 1 Faust. What does not bark? Alexander Probst writes warily of Calyptra, a law, principle, or society which prevents the dissemination of dangerous knowledge. Calyptra, like the planet that occludes the star, or the Doylean dog that fails to bark, can be identified only by its absence. Even the name, I think, must be a mask. Calyptra is said to make exceptions specifically for the libraries of the Watchman's Tree. Does it make those exceptions so the hours can make use of them? So there's the storm. We, of course, ran the risk that the miner would generate a storm. Oh, we actually got the intuition after all. Fair enough. The sea does not regret. Isan Fekri, one-time Secretary Salvant of the Curia of the Isle, responsible for the Curia's healing efforts, writes of his experiences in Brandkrug and hints at his travels elsewhere. The sea does not regret the tide, Fekri writes, for when the tide is past, it leaves its traces on the sand, which traces are the sea's memory. Fekri is a keen fisherman and speaks glowingly of the fish suppers of Brandkrug. He also admits that his enthusiasm for the bounty of the sea has altered him, that before he came to Brandkrug he consumed only those things found in the earth. I was the greater thereby, but all of us give up what we were to become what we are. The Other Line, one of Samuel Savage's more thoughtful works, an allegorical play about the city Clarity, a city that is also a book, and the sentences which inhabit it. The Lord's Proverbial and the Lord's Disquisitional war in the streets of Clarity, while the punctuants get drunk on ink and supply the jokes, though by Savage's usual standards there aren't very many jokes. The final act sees the Lord's Proverbial unsealing the city Clarity's gate to expel the population into the unknown. The formula that they use for the unsealing is a real one. It can be used with knock and preliminal meter to create a gate sign of power. And on the winding stair, Gregory Wheelock, the master mason and architect employed by Walter de Wolf to construct the winding stair and the guest chambers in Hush House, describes a more ambitious and dangerous project. Gregory marks the bricks of his roost-touched family home Treowen with Ramson bricks, hoping to open forbidden doors. Gregory evidently succeeds in opening a way to something he calls the Moon Hall, but here his account becomes erratic. He insists that in the Moon Hall, the horned axe is still an edge power. He hopes for an eternal rival, but cannot find one he needs. The narrative is increasingly interspersed with chess notations and ends abruptly. Alright, so as we said, we're going to level up Lockworks and Clockworks first. And this is so that I can preserve my Faust. I am no expert, but I am no dabbler either. And then as far as Tridesma Hyra is concerned, I will try to preserve the Confounding Parable overnight. I actually don't think I can do that. So it's Salt or Gossip. I think in this case we'll keep the Gossip. Actually, Salt, because that can't be generated by another source. Now that night has fallen, I can rest and perhaps dream on the day's doings. And before I go too far, The Room of Rusts, or Room of Rusts. The ceiling is collapsed. Rusting machinery pokes out here and there through the rubble. I may need to take a minute to sort out what I want to do with Reverend Timothy at the Slithering Fountain. I suppose it wouldn't hurt for me to just sort that out for everyone in one go. But we've made good progress, so I'm pretty happy with how today turned out. Skill is now level 3. Its power aspects have also increased. So Tradiz Mahaira is up next. So satisfying to have come so far. And I think I should be able to get at least a little tidying done. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. And then Tradiz Mahaira should be level 5 now. Oh, so it's already in position. Alright, Oriflammes. The White Book of Brittany. Will I finally be able to get this? Oriflammes established 1776. Sense Signs Sciences. Dear librarian, we would like to offer you this opportunity to purchase. And yes, I can use either the silver Spentrea or the gold. I guess it doesn't really matter. So we will offer that here. Oriflammes thanks you for your custom. Now, if I recall correctly, I've read the Black Book of Brittany and I have read the Red Book of Brittany, but I have not read the white one ever. So I am looking forward to that. Now, it looks like I have actually written down a whole lot here, but none of it seems to be about Mrs. Kill. So, I am going to take a minute here. This might be the end of the gameplay for today, but I'm actually going to get this sorted out for everyone. So, for the Gaping Darkness, we have either 12 Heart or 12 Moth. So for 12 Heart, we've got Mrs. Kill with 1. From there we would add the core. So that brings us up to 3. We could then use the mop or kitchen bowls. That brings us up to 4. And then there's the question in terms of what memory we use. Now it would seem to me the storm probably makes the most sense. So we'll do storm here. And that brings us up to 8. So then the question is, where does the remaining 4 come from? So one easy answer that we have for that would be the Rubywise Ruin. Should be in the pantry. Now that's more Grail than anything, but so far as I can tell, that's really our only source for... oh great, yeah, okay, so Rubywise Ruin brings us up to 10. Ham brings us up to 12. Now, if we were to theoretically do this with Moth, we would have the Barber, which would give us 2. We would then use our Tryst, which is also 2. So that brings us up to 4. Now, I do believe I did some Moth work before. Shears of the Sisterhood, which would bring us up to 5. And yes, I have done this before. So my Newman would bring me up to 10. At which point we say we either use the honey, which would either be the... Yeah, so it's honey and skin shuck mead. So the funny thing here is that... it actually makes more sense to use Mrs. Kill here because it involves giving up fewer of the more rare items for me. So that is one of the rooms accounted for. Next up we have the wing-haunted cave. Now hopefully this is easier because it's Grail. But let's see where we're at. So I'm going to do 12 Grail. I'm not even going to worry about Forge in this case. So again, we start with Mrs. Kill. And we could, if we wanted, we could use the Arab Plus for this, or Plus Arab. So that's 3 Grail. So we're already at 5. We could use the Spice Scales. So that brings us to 6. And then there's the question of memory, so in this case the Newman is probably most helpful. And that brings us up to 11, so that's a pretty good place to be. At that point is really just a question, what boost do I want to give? I think the simplest one would probably be to use the Witching to Sane. So that brings us up to 13, so that's another pretty straightforward one for the day. After that, we've got the Slithering Fountain. Now, this is going to be the interesting one. So that's 14 knock. So we get Reverend Timothy, which only has 1 knock. I was talking with some coworkers, and they made the interesting observation that in The Simpsons, the pastor's name is Timothy Lovejoy. I'm sure that's coincidental, but it makes me laugh now. Okay, so I think probably we would go for the Newman for a memory here. So that brings us up to 8. So the easy answer in this one would be probably the Sacrament Ascite. And that brings us to the 14. So that room is accessible to us as well. Okay, so at this point, really the question should be, how do I want to approach this? And I think I want to give myself a little bit of... I want to try and give myself some wriggle room, so to speak, with Reverend Timothy. I want to be able to build up that the Glassfinger Toxin and be able to move forward with that. So, I guess the next question would be, if I'm going to be using Mrs. Kill to open up given a certain room, which would I prefer? Would I prefer the Gaping Darkness, or would I prefer the Wing-Haunted Cave? I suppose, in principle, I should prefer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So technically I should prefer the Grail room, the Wing-Haunted Cave, because it requires 1 less action on my part. But I think I will start with, excuse me, the Gaping Darkness, mostly just because I can get it out of the way, and I don't have that much urgency for memories from Mrs. Kill today. So, with that in mind, we use our Arab to bring her in. Mrs. Kill's mood always improves when I drop by. If you don't choose a topic, Mrs. Kill will offer help as a friend. Mrs. Kill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. I will need to get a storm, although we don't know what the weather today is, so maybe we'll hold off on that. I do want to make a Glassfinger Toxin, but I believe I can't just get a Glassfinger Toxin out of nowhere. I think I need to... I think I need a liquid for that. Got Preliminal Meter. I don't think Door and Wall will help me. Yeah, so I mean I could use a glass of water, I suppose. I feel like there are better opportunities, though, so I think there was a lantern-oriented one? I don't know why I thought Sacrolamea would be... Can't tell you why I think Cyclone Eclipse is relevant. It just feels like it is. Okay, well, clearly I was off on that. Oh, if it's the Edict's Liminal, I'm going to have a laugh. Yeah, piece of cake. Okay. We don't get knock from the Isle water. I suppose if I wanted, I could use the salt for this. But yeah, I don't need to get too clever with it. So we will serve out some water, pour out. Poured out. I was kind of hoping I would see what the weather is, but... Okay, so for the dispensary. What I would like, if I can, is to save this so that I could use the... Like, so what I just need to do here is get one knock somehow. And then I could use any old... You know, I think I am going to wait for the salt in this case. Okay, the sunny day doesn't do much for me, but what I'm going to do now, I will find a candidate for a book. So opening the sky is the most straightforward one for me to read. The governor's phonograph. Callers generally preferred his devices to be as gleamingly modern as possible, but he preferred phonograph cylinders over the newer gramophone records. The cylinder, like the records, exemplified ingenuity and reliably repeated the desired sounds, but they also could be consigned neatly to a cubbyhole without causing any sort of fuss. So, we will read Opening the Sky, an unusual recording of Varro's Opening the Sky, composed for the coronation of the new king, Henry IX. The record bears the suppression stamp, Expunge. So if I bring in my Faust, the highest sky I can bring to this, I think, is preliminal meter? Nope. That might complicate things. We've got 6 and we need 10. So this isn't the sort of thing worth giving up the Ascendant Harmony for. Okay, well, I do need to get a better sky, so let's start reading some books. So at Natan's desk, I will use my FET, and we will read De Motu Corporum Veditorum. That's going to take a minute, so we'll be a bit late on that one. But that does get me the book. Next up... I don't have my consider verb yet. Okay, so yes, we can wait. I have carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Okay, we've got Mrs. Kill. So for starters, we'll get Mrs. Kill the levels that she needs. I've already kind of committed to getting the sky from other places. So here we'll take the salt. It's really my call in terms of what I'd like to throw at this, but I do have a spare Tryst, so we'll use that. We'll add Edict's Liminal and a glass of water. So now we can make the glass finger toxin, brew a bright and lethal knock toxin. So that's 90 seconds spoken for. We will try to use the Shap to make the Sacrament Ascite before the day is done. And this is the weird part. I could, I suppose, try and make the Wormwood Dream, but right now, one of the most logical things for me to do is just wait. Because in a minute, I'm going to have Oh, there's one more thing I want to do. Skill is now level 5. Its power aspects have also increased. So what I can do here is I can use the FET, I think, to open up the Swaddled Thunder. That will get me the memory that I need for Mrs. Kill. Investigate the object. So yeah, I kind of have everything that I need in terms of what my plans for the day are. It might be nice for me to try and make a few other things. So for instance, to read another book, or to maybe make an effort on one of these, one of these other texts. The thing is that there's not a whole lot that's changed for me on the Forge side of things. So, like, I'm not opposed to it, but there isn't quite the same urgency that there might be in other circumstances. So, I don't know, like, I'm sitting on a bunch of elements of the soul, but I don't quite feel the need to rush with this stuff either. I guess the one thing that'll be different is I'll at least make a bit of money while we wait. So I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There is no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. So the day's plan. Well, actually, we'll take a few more seconds just so I can read the description here. The upper pump room. See the pickaxe marks on the walls. Before the Sisterhood came to the Isle, the Romans or the Phoenicians dug these tunnels, scratching in the ground for tin and for gold. For centuries, those pumps kept the sea at bay, driven by slaves or votaries who saw the sun one day in 9. When those pumps fell silent, the sea crept in, until much later the Curia brought in their own machines to open up the lower levels again. Now we have a few possibilities opened up. So we have the Silent Hall. The hearth is cold, the floor thick with dust, the walls streaked with niter. Old invocations and forbiddings squeak and whisper like rats. So that's going to require a high level of rose or moth, neither of which we really have direct access to. And then the crystallized chamber. My path is blocked by shining surfaces like curdled light. Dark shapes shift beneath. We can tap away the crystal if we're careful, but we must be careful. Finally, there is the flooded level. Gleaming black water, still as bone. I'll need to find some way to lower the water level before I can descend. So this requires a circumstance, something that is so, but only for now. And you can probably imagine what that is. There's only one item in this room. The upper level pumps. The Curia installed these pumps to drain the lower levels, but they installed them in the late 19th century. I'll need to provide suitable materials and fuel, and I'll need apprentice level of forge to jury-rig them. So in this case we need 5 forge, but the requirements here, fuel, liquid and fuel, it needs metal and metal. So I kind of have my work cut out for me on that one, but as you might imagine, running these pumps will possibly create the circumstances that allow me to go through the flooded level. In any case, all of this will be material that we take care of in the next broadcast. Thank you everybody for watching. As always, Tuesday is a day off in terms of the releases for the videos, so I hope you have an enjoyable day off. But I will be back on Wednesday for another episode while we deal with all of these items that we just talked about. Until then, take care.